All right, let's rapid fire because again, these are really good questions.
All
So,
right.
is there any word? Okay, well, is there any word on a reboot of the series or either show?
There
This
wasn't
comes to my
word on. There wasn't even a word on renewing season 2. My God, no, they were quiet as hell. I have no
yeah, and
idea.
even from like what fans got to see too is like season three's happen. Whether it's the same behind the scenes, it's like season three's happening, but then you're like, well, this actress says she's not in it, and it's like, well, that's not really season three, and then it's a
Right.
different company, like, and then fans are like, well, it's not season three then, so
Totally different production company. And
yeah.
I wonder how much of the Weinstein controversy had a play in that. I don't know. But my guess is, yeah, so they wanted to, let's move that over here.
Yep. And it was in a. I don't know how much the show even now. Well, I guess the show does rely on the movie quite a bit because of the name, but because of this lull of uncertainty with four going into what Wes wanted for five and six, I feel like that probably had a bit to do with it too. Is there one thing about Scream? If there was one thing about Scream that you could change, what would it be? What's your favorite moment offset? Favorite offset moment?
Well, I'm always offset. God, I mean, the one thing I would change is more me. Just have a whole episode with me, like, show me calling Verizon trying to get my account changed. That voice. That was actually some bloopers we did. No, I got nothing but love for that show.
Is there anything you ever wanted to do in it that wasn't allowed or able, or even a
I
tweak,
I would have
maybe?
I would have loved to have pulled a Hitchcock or like a Stan Lee and showed up on camera
Oh yeah,
and not said anything. Like
yeah,
I would have flown down there to be a background extra just so I could say like that's actually the voice of the killer.
yeah.
I'd be like, "Here's your coffee, ma'am." I think that would have been hysterical. But they were already finished shooting by the time they contacted my agent and said we want Mike to voice this. So there was no crossover, no interaction, um, no favorite offset moment other than meeting Warren Beatty at the studio. That was pretty cool. And the other actors were really nice too. I met Emma's dad. He was really cool. And, you just talk as actors and move on. So, I mean, it was one of my favorite gigs to do though. So
Yeah,
it's just the act itself was wonderful.
nice. If this is Roderick Air, he said, if Scream 2022 is a success, is there any possibility of Scream the TV series returning with the cast of the first two seasons? We said it, but I think it's possible. I think it's
Yes, Cedric. If you invest, if you get your lazy ass into the producer seat and you get the investments going, we'll all do it. But we're
yep.
all going to be double scale, okay?
I think it's I don't know. It's something left to see. Like I said, if there's any, it's
I don't
you know
think there's any chance in hell. Lakewood, as you know it from season 1 and 2, is back. I think season 3 has a better shot of continuing with that cast than we do of ours.
yeah.
So, yeah. But we
Um,
should do a video game. We should do a video game and have all the different voices of the killer, me and Roger in it. Just
there
saying.
you go. There you go. Have both. Did you? Oh, that actually, this goes to your Verizon comment. Did you ever do your? Did you ever use your voice for evil, as in spam callers, or maybe having fun when ordering a pizza? Say pizza, perhaps.
Oh, hell yes. So I actually keep I'm doing auditions all day long. And when I get a spam call, I let it through and I totally mess with them. But I go between my kind of Southern Mitch McConnell's son. He's got a sex dungeon bit, like, hey, what are you doing? And then sometimes I'll get a little dark and like, hey, have you seen my dog? I'll mess with them a little bit. But lately, I'd love for the fans to tell me how to lure them in better. I think I need to sound old because they hang up really quick when
Oh
I'm
yeah.
too fast or funny. Yeah, they
Right.
hang up
Easy
really quick.
targets is what you need. So you need to just do the
Yeah,
killer from like 30 years in the future. Is what
yeah.
you gotta do.
Let's see if I can do that. Let's see. Hello, Emma. Hello, Emma. What's going on? Yeah. You want to
There.
come
That's
to my
perfect.
basement? I got some popsicles. There, add in the Family Guy.
Yeah. That's what
Yeah.
the scam baiters. That's actually kind of what they sound like anyway.
Well, they
So
got they got those voice modulators that
yeah.
make them all old lady sounding. But
It's
God, those I love those videos, but they just take too long. Like
yeah.
learn to
I got
edit.
in the kick of
Jesus,
watching them for a while, and then I kind
too
of stopped
long.
because they are long.
They
Yeah.
are way too long. But I love them. I love
They're
scamming scammers.
they're the greatest. when you okay, so this actually kind of goes to the Roger thing. I'll just read it whether we've talked about it before, not just to kind of give these guys credits. Robin said, "When you used your voice, did you try to sound like the original killer, and did you get any inspirations for your voice, like mixing Darth Vader with Batman or something like that?" So I guess that second part,
No.
it's just your well, it is just your voice.
No, it's just my voice if I really wanted to tear your throat out.
Right.
I'm really not a fan of our political system with like lobbyists controlling everything, you know, and I'm a diabetic and my healthcare and all that. So I just thought about, oh, what would it be like just to rip their freaking heads off and, you know, do that. So I just bring in my personal, like how much I cannot stand what you're doing. Because for all you fans out there and you want to be actors, you have to remember bad guys don't think they're bad.
Right.
You know, and so the direction to toy with them, to cat and mouse with them is a genius one. Because you don't be evil to be evil. You're messing with them because you want something. You know what I mean? And I'm not allowed to know what that something necessarily is, so I have to invent it. And it's like, okay, I'm toying with her because I need her to get to the pharmacy, you know, or whatever. So no, it's all about that. And no, I never once said, oh, I need to be more like this or be more like that. It was just me. That's just me. And that's all. I'm not that talented. So like if I try to be something that I'm not, it rarely works out. It's better just to be me and have fun with it.
Yeah, and honestly, and for as much, you know, as I say against the what was 3 Resurrection with Roger, what is cool watching it, and I watched it like the night, like I finished season 2 Halloween special, and I watched that, and it's like I think I respect, or I think anybody would respect you more, both of you, because it is like it's its own thing. You're like, oh, that's Roger, you know, that's Ghostface because he's got the costume again, right? Or they have the costume, and it's like, but you're not Ghostface, you know what I mean? You or whatever, you know, that season is. But
I sometimes get people new to voiceover and they're like, well, I can sound like so and so and I can sound like this type of character and I can sound like that. And I'm like, well, yeah, they already got that. So how about we hear you? How about we hear something that comes from your experience, your life, your heart, your throat, your lungs? Like, no, don't. And I think that's something more experienced actors realize. When you start acting, you're like, oh, I'm good for everything. I could be a security cop. I can be a military guy. I can be a teacher. I can be. And then as you keep win the career and you keep doing the acting work on camera or VO, you start to realize, wow, I'm really bad at being a cop. I'm really bad at being a military guy. I don't have that experience. I don't live that world. That's not in my soul. So then you start cutting. And by the time, I don't know how long I've done this, a while. Now I'm like, I can only do about 3 things. I'm like,
you know,
when I started, I'm like, fuck, I can do everything. Now I'm like, yeah, I could do about 3 things.
That's okay.
So you realize your limitations,
right?
The more experience you get.
No, that's something you have to look at yourself with those kind of things. You know,
I get in sessions, loop group sessions with big voiceover names, and I'm blown away by what they can do. For the longest time, I thought I can do the movie trailer voice. I can do that, and then I heard a guy that naturally has it, and I'm like, oh fuck, I quit.
Yeah,
like, no.
Those guys are next level. Are there any places like films or shows and or actors you pulled from to perfect your voice? And would you, so that part was already said, and would you like to continue doing horror, or are there other genres that you want to do? And that comes from PJ. So you've done a lot of stuff, kind of all over the place.
Yeah. I'll do anything that pays. I like money. I like not having to drive to a cubicle, or I like not having to be on Zoom all day, sort of. I feel like I'm cheating life. Like I feel like I get to play. And my wife reminds me, hey dummy, you know, you've done 100 auditions this month. You've spent enough time. Come up for air and see us. Yeah. And I'm like, oh shit, I didn't realize that. The hard part of this job is the behind the scenes, the getting your demos, reaching out to clients, because I hate that stuff. I just want to work. I don't want to do the business end of it. When you're an act, you hate the self-employment taxes, the taxes, the health insurance. It's a nightmare behind the scenes with running your business. But the actual doing the job, doing the auditions are my job. Yeah. Getting the gigs, the icing on the cake. So fun. So fun. Makes it all worthwhile. And I've never been good at going into an office on a Monday morning when I had nothing to do. I thought, well, this is dumb. I'm hungover. Like this. No, this is stupid. So it's the perfect job for me, but it's not secure. And I've had a year where I made $13,000, followed by a year that was 6 figures. So you're just like riding this roller coaster, like getting nauseous. So I don't know if I answered their question or not. I'll pretty much do anything. The one thing I won't do, because I'm terrible at it, is audiobooks and medical shit. Oh my God, no, doesn't pay enough, and I don't have the tolerance for it. If I got enough money just to say rated M for mature, I'd do that all day. But now everybody's doing VO. COVID helped everybody get a home studio. It's competitive as ever. And so it's really kind of a numbers game. I have several agents. I do multiple auditions every single day. And it's just like, well, let's hope I book something, and it's just a numbers game. And I love pretty much everything I do in it. I'm really lucky that I get to play in so many different categories.
Right.
So I'm lucky. But yeah, it's, when people like, do you turn down jobs? No, my ideal job is something that's fun, that continues. I want a series that,
it goes long.
Oh my God, Simpsons would have been a dream run for anybody. 20 years of good money, like heck yes, please.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not that interested in one-off movies, because it's one and done. I mean,
Right.
I'll do it, but I mean, if I had my choice, oh my God, give me the 5-year, 6-year series any day. I was the voice of a credit union for 8 years. I love that stuff. I was the voice of PBS Kids for like 5. God, give me that stuff. I love consistency. I love ongoing work.
Heavenly Cobreezy, I got one. How did it feel being the voice of a killer? So I guess in terms of a specific thing, well, you said how you kind of got in that mindset of it, but what's it like, I guess, being identified as like a murderer for that?
It's schizophrenic. It's really schizophrenic in your brain because you're doing 7 things at once. So, like I said, you're getting the line, you're watching the screen, you've got timing in your background, then you've got the director, and you've got your your actor choices, and you got all this stuff. So really, you don't have a lot of room to, and I'm not a method actor, so I don't, I go in and out like that. But really, it's just your brain is on overtime. Like you're just like you're doing math,
Yeah.
And I was a drummer. I would not say musician, but drummer, and I got a music minor degree, and so my timing is pretty good. I've always had pretty good timing. So that's fortunate. But getting like, how does it feel to be the killer? You don't feel like a killer. You feel like you have an agenda, and you either accomplish it or you don't. And of course, you don't leave the studio until it's accomplished. So you feel freaking awesome. You feel good about what you're doing. You feel real good about it. And then hearing from the fans when they, even when they're negative or something, it's like, oh, I affected somebody. After the fact feels good too. It's like,
it's engagement. It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. That's
my
what
goal is
YouTube
just to
says.
make kids feel better. Mostly kids. People feel better, through entertainment, because life is pretty shitty. So we need TV and
A
games
little
to get through this
distraction.
crap.
Yep, I agree.
Not all of you can drink. So
I'll say it just again to give him credit. Definitely ask him if he's gotten the green light on a real season 3. We can hope and pray. Sincere Fiend, a great question to ask. Would you be up to reprise your actually? So this is maybe this person read your mind. A great question to ask. Would you be up to reprise your role as the killer's voice alongside Roger L. Jackson as Ghostface in a possible Scream video game?
hell yes, and I actually got that offer, and I don't think it was a real offer. It went to my agent, and it never happened. It never went through because video games take a long time and they're very expensive.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
hell
I
yeah.
think more
In
of an
fact,
investment.
I wanna ask the fans something. I wanna ask the fans, do you guys go to cons, comic cons, Halloween cons, horror cons, whatever? And should I go to one? I got offered one recently and we couldn't come to terms. And I was like, it's not enough money. I almost lose money doing it. But I'm wondering from the fans, 1, should I do it? 2, the people that do it, are they viewed as sort of has-beens and it's kind of like chuckle sort of thing, or is it exciting? Like, how do the fans feel about these cons? Should I do it? And what would they? I hate charging fans anything. I hate it. I hate charging actors for anything. I hate charging fans for anything. So when they're like, oh yeah, you charge for autographs, I'm like, why? That's just give me a fee and I'll do it for free, like something like that. Anyway, I want to know everybody's thoughts on the cons and if I should do them. And I would love to do one with Roger sitting next to me. That'd be so fun.
That'd be sweet. It
I
would.
don't know if he likes me or not. We had the same agent for a while, but I never met him. I have no idea if he likes me or not.
Oh
I
my god.
love him. I love his work on cartoon series as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if he likes me. He probably doesn't. A lot of people don't.
I think I guess from a personal standpoint, I think it's worth it. And I've gone to I went to some in Toronto. The Toronto. I didn't know
You
this
went to
at
one
the
in
time.
Toronto. You
It
flew
was
all the
at
way to Canada for a con.
I lived in Niagara Falls, and I'm
Oh,
part Canadian,
you
so
drove.
I would go to Toronto, but I didn't know this at the time. The fan expo in Toronto, which is actually widely posted on like YouTube, when Nev and they were there, and I got a picture with Nev in terms of that. But I think that was the one like right after Wes Craven had died, and
Oh,
they had a panel on like the side like another day, and that panel was like a big YouTube video where they were talking about, and I was like there, and I didn't even realize it. But to answer
wow.
your question, I guess for me personally, I don't think it's I th- I don't know how people view it entirely. I don't view it as has-beens, especially if you just want to go scream. Matthew Lillard still goes, Skeet Ulrich, Nev
Okay.
Campbell. So like, I don't
Nev
think there
Campbell
has been.
goes? She
Huh?
signs autographs?
Nev Campbell, I think the last one she went to was like 20, right before COVID. So they
Oh,
haven't
okay.
Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich. They do it right now. Once they
Wow.
opened back in like the summer, they were back
Wow.
out there immediately.
Well,
Nev, I
shit.
think maybe she's a little bit more picky, but specifically like a Matthew Lillard type, he does all of them. You know.
Wow. All right. I got to look into it then, I guess. I don't
I
know.
think you'd get people. Well, I'm not your agent. I think you'd get people just because of the idea that I think the show still has life.
Okay.
And if there is a three, if there's more, then that would give it more life. But I feel like even for what there is, there's enough
Well,
there.
what really piqued their interest was the video game credits that I've been getting
Oh yeah,
lately. Back for Blood, things like
I
that.
saw. Well, I have
And
it. I saw.
and what's crazy is I'm surprised by the credits I'm getting because when I do these video game jobs, they're under a code name. I
Yeah,
have no
yeah.
idea what game I'm working on. No freaking clue. I
Yep.
go in for 1 to 4 hours. I throw out my voice and I wait a year. And all of a sudden I got this credit and I'm like, no idea I was on Call of Duty. No
Yep.
idea I was on Back
You're
for
like
Blood.
additional
No
voices for
idea.
even the 2018 Spider-Man PS4, a very huge,
That
gigantic
one I
game.
knew. I knew they told me it was Spider-Man. I knew that, and that was fun because I was Spider-Man in
Yeah, it is. You
2008,
were.
and now I'm a bunch of auxiliary characters in the new one. I love how we're all just such an incestuous little group that we all do different.
They move around. I mean, if you look
Oh
at
my
some of the
god, there's
people's
been 30
credits,
something voices of Spider-Man. 30.
yeah,
I was like number 32 or something. It's crazy.
yeah. No,
So
it's
crazy.
insane to see some of just these actors that are all over the place, and they'll do 5, 10, it's just all additional voices. But you think about games, and it's like they have to fill them. You know.
That's one of the things I do is I have my own loop group up here in the Pacific Northwest. It's outside of LA, and that's additional voices.
Yeah.
And that is also like kind of what I did with Scream. You go in that big room, you watch the screen, and you do it. Well, with the loop group, you're improvising all the stuff, and you're filling in people's mouths moving, the background extras that
Uh,
didn't actually talk, and
yeah.
you're making it sound like an airport or that. And we do all the fight, we do
Right.
all that stuff. I do some of that with other groups in LA who are wonderful, and then now with COVID, we do it from our home booths here. And
Right.
then my loop group here in Portland, we're just now getting back in person and doing stuff. We just had a gig last week that was like for an audio podcast, but that is, oh my God, the most fun work
Oh yeah.
ever. I can't describe how fun it is. It's just, you leave those sessions like a workout, like a paintball
Yeah.
game. You're just like, damn, I got beat up and I feel good. And
Yep.
so if anybody is interested in acting, find a loop group that will train you and join it along with your improv and your actor training classes, and you will be a force to be reckoned with because it is so much fun. Oh
Yep.
my God.
I try to get mine. Anybody who tells me they're working in the game or they want to work in the game industry, I always
Mhm.
just throw in, don't forget about me, and contact me in 4 to 6 years. And if I do it to like 100 people, I'm gonna get one, eventually.
What do you
Uh,
mean? What do you mean? Do what?
no, like don't be just people and because I cover a lot of
For
games and movies, so
interviews?
they'll just be people that say like appreciate your work and I'm doing voice work or I want to be
Oh,
a lot of game developers,
so
a
when
lot of
they hit it, then you can interview them.
leaking. I love leaks, so tell me, you can trickle down the info to me, and I'll still
Oh,
be
I see what you're talking about. Okay.
yeah,
Oh God. Yeah, no, the video game NDAs, and it's why they never tell us what the game
oh,
even
and
is.
yeah, no, it's
The
tough.
NDAs are thick, and it's like, no, you don't. I don't even post anything recognizable. I mean, first of all, what I would be able to say is useless.
Right.
No idea what I'm working on.
Yeah.
I voice some soldiers. I have no idea what game it is. I have no freaking idea. So talent is useless for that, and I think that industry is very protective of their jobs. You're not going to get
Oh yeah, no, for
leaked info.
you get people. You just get everybody who goes to a 5 to 10 person group, and then that group who has names online, they talk, but everybody else is hidden entirely. Like I
Oh
said, you
yeah,
do it to enough people, and you'll get
yeah,
somebody.
yeah.
Question for Mr. Mike Vaughn. This comes from Break Ops. Back in 2015, early days of the MTV series, how did you first get involved? Were you a fan of the film? We haven't talked about that. Were you a fan of Scream? Before joining. And then this back to the matching Roger Jackson. Did MTV allow freedom to change the voice? So let's just do those first cuts. So were you a fan, and how did you talked about kind of how you got into it a little bit too?
I mean, I'm a fan as much as like, no, I'm not like a super fan like you guys.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's just not who I am.
Right.
Enjoyed watching the films immensely. In fact, I think one led to the end of a very good date back in the day. So love the work, love being scared, loved Scream 1 and 2 as far as I remember. I don't remember 3 and 4 that well, but I know I watched them.
Yeah.
So big fan. No, but yeah, big, fan of the work and the genre in general. And then MTV had no say in any of this to me. The only
Yeah.
person that said one thing to me was the director and then the post audio supervisor, and it was just little adjustments here and there. So no, it was all basically my call, and I think that was part of booking the role was me making those choices. I'm gonna have fun. This is me. This is what I do. There's no argument. There's no
Yeah.
like me trying to be something and then somebody trying to twist and turn the knob. So, and I think that's pretty common for somewhat high level gigs and up where they just let the actors do what they do best.
Yeah, that's how you really when I talk about some of the just the BS of Hollywood and stuff, and you often get the best results when there's no meddling. So
The
just let people
BS
do
the
it.
BS of Hollywood happens, in my opinion, at the lower levels. Like when you're starting out and you encounter low budget stuff and all that. Lot of BS and fakey dakies down there.
Yeah,
The higher up projects I've worked on, pretty straightforward. Not a lot of dicking around. Here you go. We're good,
yeah,
and very simple, calm, and everybody trusts everybody to do their best work, and they're super nice. Everybody high up the ladder has been incredibly nice. I haven't met one out. I've never worked with asshole. There's only one person that I've worked with that I cannot stand, and she's what I would consider low rung, like third tier
yeah.
stuff. So I only have one bridge that I'm like, fuck you. Everybody else, I'm like, this is great. Yeah, I'll do it again.
Well,
Yeah.
he kept going, so I'm just gonna kind of skim when season
Sorry.
two. No, it's fine. Is he had a long when season two ended was the okay. So you talked about this a little. When season two ended, was the plan to come back with the original cast for season three? How long in the production was three before it was shut down? And then his final question: do you know who killed Kieran in the season two finale? It's a mystery that will haunt us fans forever. Also, let him know that I was such a fan of his voice and dressed as the Brandon James killer on Halloween back when the show was airing. Such an iconic villain. I think The Mask has also aged because I can tell you, based off the internet, I don't think The Mask was well received at the time. I think it's a little bit better now.
I love the mask from the
I
TV
like it too.
series. I love it. In fact, I had one made for me. I had one made for me by Tony. Oh my God, what's his last name? Oh fuck.
Star?
It's on the YouTube page with the clip of me calling Emma.
Yeah.
Tony Buck. Tony Buck mask effects. He made me a Scream mask from the show. Freaking awesome. And 2 Halloweens ago, I went out. I went out with the mask on with my kid.
Perfect.
He was Lightning McQueen. I was a Scream, and my wife was a Handmaid Tale.
Nice.
The
Everything.
Handmaid from
Literally
Handmaid
everything.
Tale. That was fun, and people had no idea here in Portland. They had no idea I was actually the voice that was actually behind the mask. So that was kind
Yeah.
of fun for me. It was just a little.
That's awesome.
And so yeah, Tony Buck made an amazing mask. I prefer that mask a lot. But no, nobody at the end of season 2 had any idea what was to come because again, they took season 1 and they took a whole year off.
Yeah.
Basically, they took the whole year, and at the last minute, they're like, "Yeah, we're doing season 2. Who's in?" And we're like, "Yeah, kind of, hey." And I don't know. The guess is my agent and I were sort of guessing it must be that whoever's buying the show, MTV, which is Viacom, they must have been waiting to say, and that was kind of a technique back then with series, is to, string them along and, well, we don't know if we're going to renew you yet. We don't know if we're going to renew you yet, and not tell them, which is really annoying because actors have to make plans, crew has to make plans. And so they were holding off. We think they were holding off on the info of, hey, are you going to renew or not? And then when they finally did, it was clear that Viacom was sort of on the fence about this series because they didn't promote it hardly at all. So it was probably just an experiment for them, I think, really.
Right.
And
Kira
didn't die. Kieran wasn't killed.
He not at that point, but then right afterwards.
What, the Halloween special?
Yeah.
Oh, he died in the Halloween special?
The Halloween, yeah. Well, see, again, when I was watching, I watched it all these years later. I didn't know, and I thought the Halloween special was part of the season. And so when it was the season finale, I was like, "What in God's name is the next episode?" Because this ends it. And then I watched the Halloween special, and there's one phone call with you in there in the in the house.
That's the weird thing. I know for sure my line to Kieran, who told you I could wear my mask, was my last line ever. So I'm pretty sure we did the Halloween special.
Yeah, before
that, and then that was the last one. I think. Maybe I came back and did the Halloween one. I don't know.
It's one line. It's one phone call for you to her, and I think it's only one phone call, maybe in the entire.
And they may have actually taken that line from a different script or a different bit, and then I just got paid for that episode. So I don't know. I
think for all things considered, of how maybe rushed or last minute, season 2 is really good. I personally like one more when I made videos leading up to talking to you, and I talked about both of them. And actually, more people I think said season 2 they prefer over season 1. I think 2 is bigger, does a TV thing, it expands everything, the scope and size. I think it gets a little lost in that. But for all things considered, I don't even watch that much TV, but for all things considered, I think they nailed it. And yeah, if you're not planning on a second killer or whatever, if you're just kind of throwing it together, it's like you have to make things work. I think they did it pretty darn well for what was asked, of them.
I had fun. I enjoyed watching it with my wife. Something I think we talked about the show. I don't know if we were recording or not, but I don't watch my own stuff. I don't play my own stuff, but that is the one series that we're like, okay, I'm interested. I'm okay with hearing my voice once in a while. It's not a lot of me, really. It's more about the kids and their relationships. So that was good. And my wife loves her Gossip Girl 90210, that sort of stuff. So it fit her bill perfectly.
Yeah.
And the violence is just comical enough that it didn't bother her too much.
Yeah.
And of course, this is before we had kids, so it's like, yeah, no.
Fair game back then.
And we're like,
Dominic asked, what was the first thing you did when you got the part for playing it, and would you like to return?
First thing I did, well, my agent called me and said, hey, you got the Scream gig, are you available? And my first reaction was, wait, what? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I can make that. That was about my reaction. Because in my line of work, you do not get excited until you've wrapped and until your check is cashed. Yeah. Because a lot of shit can happen anywhere in that process where they cancel the project, they replace you, they record you, but they don't use you in the final edit. There's a million things that can go wrong, or they don't pay. It's like you don't celebrate. You go, yes, for a second. And then you go to your audition. This is what I do. I go back and find my audition, and I throw it in a little folder called wins for that year. And whenever I feel bad about not booking, I go to that little folder for that year and go, how am I doing this year? And I go, oh, okay, I'm not doing that bad. Oh, fuck off. And so, yeah, you don't get too excited. The most excited I got was driving to the Spider-Man gig in 2008. Yeah. And me thinking, oh my God, this is the last gig I'm ever going to get. This is it. This is the peak of my career. It's all shit from here. And, I would tear up in happiness by my fourth drive out there. And I had 20 sessions for that game. So that was awesome. And before that, my very first real voiceover job was for Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And I thought, well, shit, that's the peak of my career. Fuck, it's over. I'm just going to be doing bank ads from now on. Like every job you get, you think, fuck, I peaked out. I peaked out. I peaked out. And sometimes you do, and there's a big long lull, and then you get old and fat.
Well, that resurfaced.
And,
The Grand Theft Auto views of the remaster or collection that just came out.
yeah, and I'm not making any fucking money from that, so.
You don't get anything for it?
No, there's no residuals in video games. That's a big misnomer. I make more money doing a local radio ad than I do a video game in some cases.
So if a game's remastered or something, so nothing happens. Wow.
Nope. And the worst.
That's weird.
The video game contract isn't great. Sometimes it's great if you just have a little bit of work and they pay a union scale, or sometimes I get, scale and a half or double scale. That's great. It's rare. It's rare now. And the union struck some years ago and made a deal. And now there's a bump in pay if they sell over 2 million copies. That's their version of residuals. So when people are like, you make, I don't make 1,000, but you make about 1,000 a game for one day's work. I'm like, yeah. And I work one game a year. You know what I mean? It's like, yes. And I take big risks. Us actors take huge risks, auditioning for free, hoping you get a gig, and you don't work every day of the year. So a lot of us make a low middle class to middle class living some years, and then some years upper class living. Some big names, they're doing just fine. I'm not one of those big names. I kind of piece together everything and hope for the best. And my wife's a freaking mental health therapist. So we're just compiling everything together and trying to get through the day. Right. So if I ever hear a fan going, "Oh, you get paid too much," I go, "Great, you come do it. Come join me, and then tell me what you think you're worth." Right. And with COVID, rates dropped in games. They actually dropped, and it was like, shit, what do you do? So you just you kind of have to say yes to everything now.
Well, my question: what is the first thing you do to research and approach a role? How do you feel when you make fans become engrossed in the lives of your characters, in this case, Scream, and what made you start acting?
God, what made me start acting was an accident. I'll start there. I was writing and directing ads for Ford in Denver. And I brought in a well-known voice actress who was great. And I ended up doing what you should never do to a voice actor in line reader, which is like, just read it like this. Very pompous, shitty thing for me to do. And then the engineer said, "Hey, you've got that Gen X thing down really well. Why don't I cut you a demo?" I'm like, I hate the sound of my own voice. And he goes, "Well, did you see your contract?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "I got to send that to 7 markets, multiply that by 7. And I went, "All right, let's cut a demo." So I brought in 3 of my own scripts. We put it on cassette and DAT tape. That's how old I am. Moved to Portland, Oregon. Shortly after that, I slid the cassette under an agent's door. And that was like on a Sunday. And on Monday, he goes, "Is this Mike Vaughn? Come in right now." And I worked right around the corner. So I'm like, "Hey." I'm like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "I just want to have fun." He goes, "Great answer. Sign here." And then I didn't book anything for a year. I would walk down there, put my voice on cassette, didn't book shit for a year. And then finally booked my first gig, a suicide hotline ad that would go on movie theaters. And then from the wonderful Mary McDonald Lewis, who directed me. And slowly booked a gig here and there. I added a guy in Bend, Oregon who had a studio who needed talent. I made my own website. I started adding agents. I had on-camera agents in Portland that were starting to do a little bit of voiceover, but not really. Then this woman started a voiceover-only agency, and then the internet blew up with it and just grew and grew and grew. Next thing I knew, I was like, well, I'm making 30% of my money as a writer-producer in the marketing world, and I'm making 30% as just a broadcast producer, and I'm making 30% as an actor. I was like, oh, shit. Okay, well, this acting thing's kind of fun. Right. Got my divorce, rented out my house, moved to LA. Within a year, I was a full-time actor. So I landed an agent down there, and I started booking stuff. And that was 2007. So just been full-time actor pretty much since then, with dabbling in producing and getting shit done for other people. God, what was the other part of that question? Oh, how do I approach a role?
Yeah.
This is what I tell, I teach on the side once in a while, not myself, but through other programs. And what I'll do is, what I tell people is, first of all, ignore the spec. when they say this is what we want, ignore it. Ignore it. Go straight to the page, the material. That's where the gold is. What is this scene about? What does your character say? You can get everything you need out of that most of the time. Unless it's like a video game and it's like, halt, who goes there? Don't open the gate, move here. But luckily, in the video game world, they give you a full page of background after you see your lines, and they don't mean much. But in most things, there's a scene. You can go, okay, this is what's happening, or an ad, this is what's happening, da da da. Then you can make your actor choices, right? So you go get theatrical training, people. Go get your improv training. Go get all your actor training. Read the script. Go, this is how this makes me feel. This is what, you make all your choices based on what it is. Then you perform it a few times, and then you read the spec. And you should match up with the spec perfectly. And if you do, your approach was solid. So my approach varies. It varies quite a bit. But the idea is, what's really going on here? What can I bring to the table? That's about my approach. And then checking in, does it match what they're asking for? Most of the time, the spec is bullshit. It's like, we want somebody who's demure and quiet, but a bold friend. You're like, you don't know what you want, so I'll just make my own choice. Not always, but in general. And if they give you a picture of the character or the music they're going to use, that informs you. You just collect everything and inform it, and then just go for it. And make sure you're having fun. If you're struggling and hate it, get out of the game. You got to love this stuff. Like I said, I average, I don't know, 70 to 110 auditions a month. So that's multiple auditions every single day. And that's how I stay afloat. Because I'm really bad. I'm really bad at reaching out and saying, hey, how's it going? And being sincere when I know back in my mind I'm just hunting for work. So it feels inauthentic to me. And I'm not good at that. That's why I have agents. I'm really bad at it.
Right.
And I don't mind doing the auditions. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Does that answer all their questions?
I think so.
4-part question.
How do you feel when you? What do you feel when? How do you feel when you make fans become engrossed in the line? So basically, when you hit it, well, how do you like? When fans liked Scream the show, what did you think? Happy?
So yeah, it's very difficult to please fans in this genre, and then the Comic-Con genre in general. Yeah. Very hard to get praise and agreement and consensus and all that. So when I get it, I'm human. I feel it. I'm like, oh, thank you. That's very, very sweet. And when somebody's like, fuck you, Roger Jackson's better, I go, all right, oh, it hurts a little bit, but it's not about being better or worse. And I have to realize these are kids and they just want to express themselves and that sort of thing. I just sometimes want to reach out and remind them, hey, I didn't act alone in a box.
Right.
There was 2 producers, a voice director, a board op. There was a writer, a producer, a showrunner, an executive producer. There was a buyer of the material. There's a lot of people at play, and us actors are pretty much the last sort of step in this process. So when somebody criticizes something, be careful, because I got a lot of like, oh, you sucked as Spider-Man, you sounded whiny, da 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 da. I was directed by people. Right. They might see your comment, and if you try to get in the biz, I mean, this probably is not going to happen, but you're offending more than just the actor when you criticize something without, you can criticize something, but maybe have a solution. I didn't like that scene, but I think this would have been, have a dialogue, not just a, flame war and be a troll. That's more interesting.
That's what Twitter and the internet has created. People that can hide and granted, I've always made it a point on my channel to acknowledge you can criticize. I don't really, because at the end of the day, even for like gaming, right? Because I cover a lot about games. We're not just mindless people that just buy these games. We should have if we don't like it, but like you said, to just say threats or attack, like that's obviously no go. And if you have a problem, throw in. What's the harm? Throw in what you would do to fix it.
Solution or reason or why it made you feel that way. But, you get a thick skin in this business too.
Yeah, you have to.
And I have to realize who's talking to me. And sometimes I'll mess with them. Like if you say some shit on my YouTube, channel or whatever, and I've had a couple wines in me, I'm gonna.
You gotta go at them sometimes.
And then I don't go at them, but I respond snarkily. Um, there's usually somebody on Instagram that's like not very polite and wants me to voice something for them and demands it. They're barking a command at me. You voice my you do the killer voice on my voicemail. And if I'm a little loose that night and I've got 5 minutes to spare, I'll be like, okay, where do you work? And I'm like, I'm gonna come to your house and I'm gonna come to your job and make you give me your Subway sandwich for free. Let's see how that goes.
Yep, I agree. People, granted, it is weird, and the internet's made it available where you can do that, and I don't really think people have learned, and maybe they'll never learn what kind of dialogue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a blend too, because I respect the heck out of you, and I think you did an incredible job. There's a tough thing on the internet about like worshiping, Hollywood types and all that, and that you can get too far the other way too, where it's I've never been in support of, treat them with respect. You're a human being. Sure, you do a voice on a thing that people like. You're a human being, and there's that level of not disrespect, but also not like worship. Like,
we're all human, and we all have huge faults and foibles and quirks, and we're even a celeb is not who you think they are.
Right.
Everybody's down to earth. They're just doing what they do. So through PR and media, things can get distorted.
Oh yeah, that's the
But
internet.
every celeb I've met is, except Henry Rollins, is fine with adoration. They will tolerate hey, I love your stuff. Some better than others.
Yeah.
But in general, the ones that are really doing the work and truly love what they do, they will love to hear your compliment, love to hear what you have to say. I had a friend who was famous in his own right, a very, very famous drummer, very talented, but you might not recognize him, because he's a drummer behind the scenes, sort of, not behind the scenes, but behind the front line. We were walking at the Sherman Oaks Galleria, and him and I were having dinner, and Fred Willard walked up behind him. This is like 2009 to 2010. Fred Willard walked up, and my drummer pal went right up to him and said, Fred, I love your work. Oh my God, you were so great and best of show. Da, 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 da. And he's like, oh, thank you very much. He had no idea who had just told him who he was. Like, if he knew, it was like, holy shit, this is so great. And he was so humble, the drummer, my friend Nate, he's so humble. He's just, he's kind and he's genuine, and that's who you think, you think, oh, fame and fortune. No, everybody's kind and nice when it gets down to it. And if they're not, then they got their own personal issues.
Yeah.
So, like, I've seen Johnny Knoxville, so nice to all his fans. Oh my God, I've never seen a more gracious guy with his fans. A lot of actors are just kind and generous, and would do the autographs for free.
Right.
So I don't know. And then there's just a couple. There's a couple here and there that you're like, what's wrong with you? But they're rare.
Nando asked, and we haven't actually talked about this, but we can do it really quick. What are your thoughts on Scream 5? Seen the trailer? Interest in it?
Haven't seen it yet. I have she's 7 months now, 7-month-old now. I have a 7-month-old now. I'm up there in age. And I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I've got a 5-year-old. So there's not a lot of
time
for me to digest media at the moment. Had this been 7 years ago, yeah, I would have been all over it. Yeah. Life changes. Life goes a different direction sometimes that is unexpected. So I'm just like, what? I think what I can do after everybody goes to bed, I'll go out to my fire table, have a cigar and a scotch, because that's what I do. That's my one vice that's left. And I'm watching stuff on Apple, I'm watching series. I love series. So yeah. Foundation, I'm into that. Narcos, the new Narcos series came out. Oh, so good. There's so much good material out there. Oh my God. I'd like to see Scream 5, but I don't know how I'm going to pull that off with, a wife that goes to bed early and two very vocal kids. They don't cry, but they inherited something. They are yappers.
This one I think has already been asked, but I do. Michael says Roger L. Jackson was hidden from the rest of the cast to add to the suspense of the calls in the Scream movies. Did you ever interact with the cast? We talked about that, or is the policy still in place? Do you think it worked? Let me add on to it. Do you
I
think
don't
it
know if
was
Roger was
better?
on set. I don't know if Roger was on set. I don't
They
think he
talked. I know
was.
in Scream 1 they did
They
like a
did have him on
documentary.
there.
He's like to my knowledge, and I think it's even from like a Comic-Con thing. Nev, Courtney, like they never
Mhm.
saw him
But they heard him.
ever until after Scream 3 had come out. So like for the fourth when they rebooted it, they knew what he looked like, but he was on set, but off. Yeah, only he would
Yeah,
actually call them, but they would never actually see him. I think it's probably best adds to the in terms of like imitating what it would actually
agree.
be like.
No, it's
Yeah,
definitely better performance wise for the actors to connect and be real with it. I think that's great. And I think back then too, you're talking about film and analog. You're not talking about a lot of digital technology being used. I know that if they would have brought me on set, it would have cost them so much more money to have an actor on set for that thing. A movie, you don't do as many days on set as you do a series.
right.
And there would have been a lot of days me sitting around Louisiana doing
Yeah,
nothing and getting paid.
right,
So it was definitely a smart decision to wait until the last minute to bring me in cost wise. And I can
right,
still do my job. I can still scare it. So it's really up to the actor on camera to imagine what I'm
right.
saying. I'm sure they imagined Roger and got scared from that.
Yep.
Perfect. Great. I I heard some scratch track stuff. I heard somebody on the set reading the lines to them, which is
Oh,
difficult because they didn't have the actor stuff going.
yeah,
So that's how strong of actors the Scream actors are.
yeah.
Is they're reacting to somebody going, "Hey, why don't you open the door? Did you just lock me in or out?" Like they're reacting to that, and they have to react like it's, "Did you just lock me in or out?" And they're good actors. They're all
Yeah,
solid. They're
yeah.
all solid.
I was impressed by them all. I got one question for him. Did he try to do research on the original Ghostface or copy any of his mannerisms? How did he go about getting in the mindset of his own version of? So we talked about both those of the killer.
Mhm.
Let me, as you mentioned it, I don't want to forget it because I forgot it earlier. When you first, what like when you hear it scream,
Mhm.
was there any like do you know immediately it's not movie into the show? It's its own kind of thing. Because like what I mean? Because then when you hear
Um,
scream, are you thinking immediately I'm supposed to imitate him or what's going on?
that was my fear, was that they wanted an imitation.
Yeah,
So two things went through my mind super briefly. Like I'm going to talk about it more now than I even gave it thought. But
yeah.
one thing occurred to me, which was, oh, are they just getting my voice to lower Roger Jackson's rate? Like,
Oh, okay.
hey, and they did this with Futurama a long time ago. They tried to get replacement actors because the actors all wanted a pay raise.
Oh,
And
yeah, I remember
so
that.
the producer said, "Oh, well, we got a bunch of actors that will replace you." And they went, "Great, go for it." And they went, "Okay, we're sorry. Here's your money."
Yeah,
Um, and so that was my first fear, was like, am I just being used to get Roger down, or to weaken his position?
right.
And I'm like, I don't think it is. I have to trust my agents because they wouldn't participate in that.
Right.
So I have good agents for a reason, and it's like, okay, I trust my agents. They want me to do it. I didn't get any notes, like there was no sound like Roger, do this, do that. There was none of that. It was, you're a threatening caller. Here's the scene, and I go, oh shit, this is Scream.
Yeah.
And that's when I said, I'm not going to get in my head about this. I'm just going to have fun and be me. Go up and do it. That was that. And that was literally
Were
it.
you
That was
told
literally
literally point blank at any point
that it's a
early on,
TV
like this
series.
is that, or like this is not the movie. This is its own unique thing, so you're fine.
I think it was positioned as series. Yeah, I think in general your agent says, here's the media it's going to go on. Is
Oh,
it a
okay. Yeah.
commercial? Is it a thing? What is it? Da, 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 da. So this would be considered content. And I think they said series, but I'm not sure. I think they did say series because that made me go, okay, don't do Roger. This is different.
Right.
This is separate. So I think that's what it was. And also, I hate it. I hate it when I get material that's known, like existing material. I
Yeah.
hate it because it's like, especially if I've already seen it. If I've never seen it, if I'm not affected by it, fine, I'll bring my originality to it. But if I've seen it a bunch, like anything from The Fifth Element, I can't do, because I'm just like, I've seen it too many times. I love Fifth
Right.
Element, so I'm just like, whatever. And I've had to re-audition for my own jobs in some cases, and that's not easy either,
Right.
because you're like, crap, I gotta audition to save my own job. That happens a lot in commercials. So it's just like, what do you do?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, nothing that we haven't really covered.
Uh,
Everybody wants this like angle of,
I think they just want. I think that.
I
Well,
think they're all trying to see if I stole from Roger. I think that's the big question here.
no,
And
no.
I actually avoided
Like I said, the
anything.
tough thing, and just honestly, or looking at it honestly, is like it is Scream. It's called it. I even said I did the season 1 review on my channel, and I said the biggest flaw is that it's called Scream because it's really not Scream. The only,
Well,
you know,
they got a mask-ish. They got a
they
mask.
have a mask and they have a voice that is similar in tone, and that's
That's
honestly
funny. That's funny.
it. Yeah,
That's
I mean, I
funny. They could
really
be
think
like
they
the
could have.
knockoff.
I said
They'd be
Lakewood.
like the
Yeah,
knockoff.
they could have
And
done
it's
like
funny too.
Lakewood's.
I'm a lead character on a video game now called Ice Scream for
Yeah,
Far
yeah.
Cry 6.
That's a popular thing on YouTube. No, honestly, they could have called it like Lakewood Murders or Lakewood Slash, like use the name of the town, and it.
Yeah, but then there'll be another kid with his own podcast going, "Why didn't they just call it Scream?
Oh yeah, no,
Obviously
for sure.
Scream." Ah.
Yeah, no, there's you can't really win with it, and that's why I think it's aged well because I feel like again, not I didn't watch it back then. That's probably a lot of the just arguments online specifically is probably is this Scream, is this not Scream, and then now maybe that's a big
Yeah.
reason honestly is now it's like you just kind of forget about it. It is its own thing. It's been enough time where it's like, let's not even compare it to the movies. And we probably shouldn't have back then if we did. You know what I mean? I think that's helped it.
I hear what you're saying. If anything, if they changed the name, it would help out my resume and typing, because that is a long freaking title. Scream: the TV series.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, damn, just call it Scream TV or something. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yep.
Let's change the name.
I do. I really think that was one of the
Long
biggest things.
title. Scream,
If
the TV series, the abridged version, now on streaming cable. Yeah, long title.
do you think, well, we've said this a little. Do you think the original cast, Willa Fitzgerald and others, would reprise their roles if there was a season 3? We kind of talked.
If you guys want to make this a bet, like one of those betting sites where you can bet on anything, I will take
Careful.
that bet, and I will bet that they're not coming. No, they've moved on to bigger, better things.
Well, he quoted you. What you should really be asking is, did you just lock me in or out? Let's be fair. You think that's the best conversation thing of well, let me ask you, is that what you're most proud of, or is there actually another scene or call that you like more, or are you okay
That's
with
that's an iconic homage. It was fun. I
Yeah,
love the last line to Kieran the Best. Who told you
yeah, I
you could
like it.
wear my mask?
Yeah,
That one
I love
got me
that.
here. That one I was like, fuck yeah, that's where I'd land. That
Yeah,
was my sticking the landing. That was like, okay, that felt good. There was in the middle of the series where I actually lose, where I lose control and they get one up on me, and
yeah,
that was fun to play, where I'm actually not winning the scene.
yeah,
That was fun. I think that was around the time of the prom when things start to go sideways and I don't get my way. So
yeah,
that was kind of cool.
yeah.
But yeah, that last line was,
Yeah, that's special.
yeah.
Um, oh God, you're not. You may. This is another Roger. Do you feel your version holds up to his portrayal?
I think they're two different things.
J-
It's apples and oranges. It's apples and oranges. I think Roger does what Roger does well, and it's awesome in the movie and all that. I think if you want to feel like your uncle is possibly going to rape your dog and eat your cake and laugh while he's doing it, then you pick me. I think I'm a lot more vicious than most other actors, because I'm genuinely, deep down, I'm a pretty vindictive motherfucker. So I'm not a nice guy. And so if you want a mean person, it's very easy for me to bring that out. Super easy.
Yeah.
But being nice, I struggle. I struggle. I struggle. You heard it. You heard it in the scene where I call his ADT security. Oh, dude, that's not easy for me to be like, "Hey, how you doing? All right," without sounding creepy and like I'm already gonna tear your throat out. So
Yeah.
no, I'm mean. I'm mean. I'm sarcastic. I love roasts. I love because hurt people hurt. So
Yep. And then the last one, Layden said, "Can you please tell him everybody wants a season 3, and we love the show. Everybody wants it."
Don't
Honestly,
don't tell me. Don't tell me. Tell some executive producers that
well,
got
there's
some
your
money.
praise. There's your praise. No, I think people
I don't
want
know
to.
why. I don't know why the streaming services are all super desperate for content. I have
Yeah.
no idea why Amazon, Netflix, or Hulu didn't do something
I was gonna say the
with.
same
Maybe
thing.
they did. Us actors are left out of the meetings. Trust
Yeah.
me. Unless the actor is also making the stuff, we don't know shit. We don't know anything. My agent didn't even know they were going to use me for season 2. We're like,
Yeah.
are they going to use a different voice for every season? No idea.
Yeah.
No idea. We got no clue.
That's one of the things why I don't even talk too much about Hollywood and movies and TVs. It actually kind of makes me upset with that exact line. It's like, to
We
be
don't
a
know.
little harsh, I do think there's a lot of good, and there's also just a lot of garbage. And it's like these things that I do think could work. As like I told you off the camera, like I love Pirates of the Caribbean, and the Johnny Depp stuff aside, that's a franchise that Disney has the worst idea of what to do with. And yet you see all these movie bombs, and it's like you have something there that's so easy, in my opinion. And now that's me armchair quarterbacking it, but it's the
It
same thing even for
is.
Scream. It's the
It
same thing
is.
for Scream, where you have all of these things that fail, and it is easy to say, well, it fails and Screams there, but it is there. They're
Well,
like,
look, no, just like villains, nobody thinks that their stuff is bad.
right, yeah,
So I've been on some sitcoms, and I'm like, wow, people are actually laughing. Like, okay, okay, it's just not my cup of tea.
yeah,
Doesn't mean they don't think that there is an audience for it
right,
somewhere. So when Hollywood is making stuff, when anybody's making stuff, I think it always starts in a good place.
yeah,
I don't think it ever starts very cynically until the budgets get cut. Then, especially in horror, low budget horror, the budgets are so small that of course you're going to be cynical and you're going to be like, let's just get this done and make some money and get out of here.
right,
That's the worst kind of scenario I've encountered. Everybody else has a big heart and is trying to do their best. And so, before I moved to LA, I was like, how can they not see that the show's not funny? And I think on the set, there's crew people that are just keeping quiet because they like the paycheck.
yeah,
Also, who's to say? Who's to say what's funny and what's not? It's very subjective. Who's to say my voice is better than Roger's is better than mine? Doesn't matter. It's subjective. Were you entertained? Did
yeah.
somebody laugh? Did it garner some advertisers and pay the crew? Nothing. I don't think anything's done out of evil or weirdness.
Yeah.
It's
No,
just
it's
spectrum.
tough.
It's a spectrum of reasons.
Yeah, no, it is tough. Yeah, you're right. I mean, again, the internet makes it so much easier to do that, and there is that conflict. But I think overall, what we've learned today is people do want season 3. People would support it, and that honestly, that's a tough
You
thing in
guys
and
got to
itself.
stop calling it season 3 because there was a season 3. There was a season 3. You got to call it what it is. You got to call it
But you can't do season
Lakewood Part
4.
3. Lakewood Part 3.
Yeah,
It'll be 4. It'll be season 4, and they can merge the characters together. Willa can run into
well,
Emma can run into.
there's only like 2 or there's 3 that make it out of that. Nah, no thanks, no thanks. That's
No,
just me though.
they should all meet up on that island from the Halloween special. Like meet each other and be like, oh, okay, yeah, your school had a killer too, yeah, ours too. All right.
Yeah. Well, there were theories even online going into 5 that there'd be some sort of tie over from late, because I think the bowling alley was in like an early picture or something, and people were I don't remember exactly what it was because I didn't cover it back then, but I remember there was early thoughts that maybe they were gonna at least acknowledge its existence, but at the same time it
Yeah,
doesn't make
yeah,
sense to, I don't think, because it's got nothing to do with it.
yeah.
So it's weird.
No,
So I want to thank you again.
thank you.
I want to say, even from the fans, again, like thank you, for your job and for making it something that was special back then and now.
Yeah.
And then finally, I want to get a hello Emma. Just can I do that? Can we get
Oh
a
yeah.
hello
Of
Emma
course.
just to do it?
Well, is your podcast just called?
It's podcast now. If you want to do hello podcast now, that'd be
I can do
cool
that
too.
too. Hello, Emma. Hello, podcast now listeners. Hello, podcast now viewers. something like that. I don't know.
Perfect.
You just go back in your throat, you gravel it all up, almost like your iced tea, and then you just go for it. If I put a little slang on it, it becomes very iced tea.
Oh my god, no, it's really good. I liked it. I liked it when I saw it. Even like the phone call with Emma, you can kind of tell as you're watching it that it's a special thing. But honestly, I think all of them are pretty special. So thank you again. Or is it?
And to answer everybody's question, there's no effects on my voice when they do it. It's not a voice changer. It's not. There's no plugins. There's nothing. They just make me sound like I'm on a voice, and that is literally my voice. So stop emailing me about what voice changer did I use. Jesus.
Yeah. There's a little bit more in 2. Do they add like a little kind of background, almost fuzz to it? It sounds like there's a little
there's a plugin to make it sound like a phone, various phones and stuff. But
that's Roger, even when he came back for the 3, he's got a lot more effects behind him than ever before. And I think in season 2, there's a little bit more with you than in 1.
I know for a fact they did not affect my actual voice.
I mean, like behind
pattern. They put a filter over it to make it sound like a phone. Yeah. That's all.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much. Anything you want to plug or any?
I better plug because you get video game jobs based on your Instagram numbers. I'm off of Twitter basically because it's boring. Instagram, if you guys would follow me, I'd love it forever. It's pretty entertaining, and I sometimes post those pranks up there. It's the Mike Vaughn. I think it's the_Mike_Vaughn at Instagram.
I'll link it in the
just Google. Link my Instagram, would you? YouTube page. Do what you want on there. Comment and view away. You can see all my work. Even the Loop Group stuff is rebelloop.com. That's incredibly fun. So if you're in the Pacific Northwest area, come check out what we do. It is a freaking blast, and I could use some new young members hungry for fun work. That's all I got. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, I'll link it all, and you guys can check it in the comments or comments, description, all that stuff, and let us know what you guys think about it. And I don't really know even how to end it, so it's so long. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Mike, for being here. Thank you for the Scream community, and hopefully we get a season 3, even though the odds are stacked up against it. But we'll leave it there. All right, talk to you guys next time.